Well, good morning, everybody. Man, let's try again. I know that you have maybe the coffee hasn't kicked in yet, but let's just try again. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Wow. Okay. We are starting this new series called Tomorrow. But before we dive in, this week as I was doing chapel for our school, and as I was trying to spend some time, and as I was talking with them, I didn't realize how unaware people are of our true beginnings of Thanksgiving. A lot of times people don't know, and I teach about this often, though. I talk about it, and every year I kind of bring this up a little bit. Before we dive in today, I want to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving and really the pilgrims of where this came from. So one of the things I like to tell, I kind of gave the kids an easy way to remember where the pilgrims came from. Number one, they came, I don't know, there's a little hum going on. I don't know if we can turn that down a little bit. For you guys who don't know, the pilgrims came from England, but they came from a small village called Scooby. So I tell people, remember Scooby-Dooby-Doo, and you'll remember where the pilgrims came from. So they started in this small village in Scooby, and really you may know the name William Bradford, and he's the gentleman who really came over on the Mayflower, really started writing the Mayflower Compact. But I will tell you about him before he came over. He was 11 years old when he ran into the Separatist Church, when he came across this group called the Separatist Church. And they didn't call themselves separatists. We didn't really identify them that until later. But what they realized is that right about this time, they started realizing that the Gutenberg had started printing the Bible, and the Bible was now in more hands than ever before. And they started reading it and going, that's not what it says. That's not what the word says. It doesn't say that I have to do, and they looked at the Catholic Church and they thought that the Church of England had broken apart, but it was still too much tradition. It was still too much of the same old. And so they said, that's not what the word says. That's not what it says something different. And so they said, we really need to break off from that. And so they really they read the word and they started doing this church differently. And they were called separatists because they really broke off from the Church of England. Anybody ever heard of King James I? If you've never heard of King James I, that's who the Bible, if you've ever read a New King James Version, well, that's the guy who said, that's the Bible. He said, this is the one we're going to use. That's that first English translation that we look at. It's the first one that was authorized, and it's for the Church of England. And we see this Church of England, and now if you're wondering where the Church of England is today, it's the Anglican Church. So if you ever go around and you see an Anglican church, that's the Church of England. It still exists today. Very traditional. It almost looks like a Catholic church. Anyway, so this group of pilgrims decided we're going to go do something different. And they tried to run. And they went to Holland and tried to do something there first. And they realized that that's not where God had called them. They were still facing persecution. They were still facing these different things. And they go, this is not where God has called us. And so they ended up hiring 2 ships. Did anybody know that there was 2 ships? Most people forget that there was 2 ships that came over. Well, that attempted to come over. The first 2, the Speedwell and the Mayflower, and they both leave from the southern tip of England, and they start on this way here, and the crew on the Speedwell decided to start drilling holes in the side of the boat in order to get it to go back because they didn't want to come over. They were terrified. It wasn't like coming over to this paradise that we call America now. It was coming over to the unknown. Most people that came over died. They kept looking and going, my tomorrow is going to be devastating if I go to the Americas. I don't know what's to be. I don't know what's going to look like. And so they drilled holes in the bottom of the ship, not big enough to where it sunk really fast, but big enough to where it started taking on water to where they had to turn back. And they turned back, and the pilgrims said, you know what, we're just going to get on one ship. And 102 of them got on a ship to start making this journey across. They left some of them left, William Bradford left his 6-year-old son behind, knowing that he probably would never see him ever again, to come and really be able to have that religious freedom, to come here and go, you know what, let's go make this plan and let's go do what we're supposed to do. Let's go reach people for Christ. Let's go have this religious freedom so we can celebrate. And they came over. And when they got here, they were a little off course. They were supposed to land in New York, and they ended up landing in Massachusetts, and that little bit of difference was about a 15-degree weather change. And so when they got off, they landed in December, and there was snow, and there was ice, and they got off the ship, and they said, oh, what are we going to do? We're out of supplies. We have to stay here now. And they got off the ship, and they started going, okay, this is going to be, and this is Plymouth. And then from Plymouth, the first 3 months that they were on the ground of the Americas, they lost 50 people. 2, 3 people a day sometimes. And they met an Indian chief, and there happened to be an Indian who came over to England and went to school there, and his name was Squanto. And he came over and he lived with them and taught them how to fish, and taught them how to grow corn, and saved them. You know, we fail to really recognize that the Americas don't exist without the Native American people that were already here. They just don't exist. It would have been over. We would have got here, and the 50 would have turned into nothing. And what we see today exists because of the people that were already here, and that we, you know, and granted, this is a whole different story, but they saved them. And you know, we know that the harvest came in at about October, and we know that they threw a celebration, and they had so much food. See, here's the thing. They had so much food that they had to party for 3 days. That's what it was. They partied for 3 days with everybody that they could invite. They called everybody and said, hey, come in here. And it wasn't about some white guys wearing black hats that had little buckles on the top of them. It was about coming in and being grateful for what God had done. How God had given them so much, how God had overflowed their storehouses because they were faithful. Yes, they had lost people, unless they had lost children, and even the child that was delivered on the ship, on the Mayflower, on the way over here, died 6 days after birth. They were still grateful for what God had delivered them through. And you see this and you go, we're getting ready to go into Thanksgiving, and you start questioning, are we grateful? Are we grateful for what God has done? You see, the problem is that we live in this entitled generation now. We live in this generation, it's defined in this, and so I'm kind of diving into the sermon now, so just kind of know that I gave you a little brief history lesson to dive into what we're going to talk about. A Boston consultant came out and he said, I want you to tell you about this generation that we have now. They're energetic, they want to be excellent, they're enthusiastic, but they're entitled. They're entitled. You know, we look at this and we go, why have we raised this entitled generation? What has happened? There's more divorces happening. There's more families that they're both working, and we don't say no to our children. We don't say no to our children. And we've also created this failure-proof environment. Have you guys ever noticed this? We've created this failure-proof environment. You know, when I was a kid, if you dropped your cookie on the ground, you picked it up, you brushed the dirt off, and you said, God made dirt. And, oh, you've been there too. You know, here's the thing, is that when my oldest, you know, anybody ever give your child a binky? You know, you guys got that pacifier, and then 2 years later, you go, give me that back. You do the same thing when you teach them to talk. You go, come on, start saying some words, and then as soon as they start talking, you go, shut up! But has anybody taken that binky? And you know, they drop it on the ground, you look around, you pick it up, you go, and you give it right back to them? Why is it that our kids don't do the same thing? They drop the binky on the ground, they're like, oh, no, that's got to go in the trash. You can't even boil that. That's never salvageable. My wife laughs, but we bought one of those really expensive sippy cups. You know, somebody's laughing like they know what I'm talking about. One of those really expensive ones that they like guarantee it doesn't spill. You like flip it upside down and shake it, and it doesn't do anything. Well, you know what happens is that type of cup gets left because you take it everywhere. Well, it got left in the car one time. And the milk decided it wanted to come alive. And so it started growing, and it's, you know, and so that non-spillable sippy cup certainly put off a pretty good smell. You're like, man, what is that smell in here? There was something, did something die? Did a cat crawl in here and cook in the heat or something? What happened? And so that $20 sippy cup, you finally find it under one of the seats, and you open it up, and you go, oh, I found it. This is where it's at. My wife, this stainless steel, by the way, my wife takes this cup and goes straight over to the dumpster with it, straight to the garbage can. I go, well, wait a minute, what are you doing? That's a $20 cup. What are you doing? She goes, do you see the inside of this? That's what they made soap for, baby. What are we going to do? That's why we wash it. We take it inside. You're not going to ever get that clean. So we threw away a $20 cup. This is what our generation has gotten to, though. We've gotten to this point where it's very entitled, we create safety devices for things that, anybody in here ever ridden in the back of a pickup truck? Almost all of you. Anybody in here ever ridden on the hood of a vehicle? I rode on the, you start looking at, and see, when you start looking at this, we've created to where you go, you're not allowed to get in the back of a pickup truck and drive down the road. How many people were bouncing out of the back of pickup trucks dying? I want to know that. I never saw it happen ever. I remember sitting on the lip of the driving down the road. On the edge of the bed, just riding along. I remember going, oh no, that's illegal now. You got to be in a 5-point harness back there, and it's a race car. Or how about this? Anybody ever get a participation trophy? I never got one as a kid. I never got a participation trophy. Oh, I'm sure you have. It's a whole different generation now, right? We look at this, and he's 12, right? 11. Well, what? Oh, you participated? Here's a trophy. Thanks for being here. But when I was a kid, if you didn't do something that was like MVP worthy, you didn't get an MVP trophy. And here's what we've done is that we've given and given and given, and we've really taken away this attitude of gratitude because we've made it to where they're entitled. They just think it's going to come. Now look, we take our iPads and guess what we do? You can sit here, you don't even have to pick up the phone to call anybody to order pizza now. You just order it on your iPad. I rented a car this last week. We took a trip down to Monterey Bay Aquarium with the school. I rented a car. I didn't have to talk to a single person to rent that vehicle. Not a single person. I rented it online. I walked up. I had express checkout. I walked up and literally grabbed the keys and left. Didn't have to talk to a single person. You start looking at this. You get on your device and you update your blog and you think that that's a way of communicating with everybody. Instead of actually having this, or even the best one. Anybody have this? You can go, Alexa, turn off the lights. Alexa, tell Roomba to vacuum the floor. It is pretty awesome. Alexa, turn the temperature down 3 degrees. Does that too. But see, here's the thing. I want you guys to know something. We're the heaviest generation. We might be the most technologically savvy, but have anybody in here ever seen WALL-E, the movie WALL-E? Yes. If you haven't seen the movie WALL-E, I would highly encourage you to get and see how the people on the spaceship look, because of what technology has done. So they ride around in little cars because they're too big to be able to walk on their own. They have to roll out of bed to get onto this thing because you can't, and basically, if you start looking at our generation, you start seeing what's happening. And we become very demanding. You go in and the cashier isn't fast enough at the Walmart, so you go, I'll go check myself out. I don't know if that's a convenience thing or if that's just I hate people thing. Because it's not faster. I want you to know it's not faster for you to check yourself out, by the way. That's just your excuse for going, I don't like people and certainly don't want to talk to them. I want you to listen to this. And we're going to start in Luke 17. We're going to bounce around a little bit. But Luke 17, now on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out to him in a loud voice, Jesus, Master, have pity on us. Now, this is very, very important because they said they stood at a distance because they had leprosy. Now, I don't know if you know what leprosy is, but if you read Leviticus 13, you will know that it is very unclean. So I want you to think about, so for some of you guys, I use movie references a little bit, and I use some of that stuff, but if you go back and you think of Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, anybody ever seen that movie? Some of you guys have seen it. Okay, if you haven't seen it, don't watch it. It's not one of those ones that you should watch. I was just checking to make sure that I could recommend it to you, and I can't, okay? But if you've seen it, if you've watched it and you saw this opportunity that they got in a car and the guy had sores and they were oozing and it was like one was throbbing and it exploded on him and so this is leprosy. It's nasty. It's like you fall asleep and all of a sudden a rat runs off with your finger. Bad stuff. Now, mind you, this is where people get sent to the edge of the city. If you got leprosy, nobody was like, hey, you get to stay in the center of town. That's not happening. You go to the edge of the city. Now, and mind you, at the edge of the city, I want you to know is that where do they build cities at back then? They built them next to water and on hills. And there's a reason why they built it on hills. Because everything rolls downhill, right? So they didn't have plumbing back then. It wasn't like you'd go use the restroom and flush the toilet and all of a sudden magically goes to the sewer treatment plant. They got up in the morning, they took the chamber pot, they walked outside, and they dumped it in the middle of the street in the gutter. Ooh, yes. Very nasty. And then after the morning, and about mid-morning, what would happen is the cleaning crew of that city would actually go and start pouring water from the top of the hill, and it would flush out, and it would end up at the base of the hill who lived? The people with leprosy, the people that were hurting, the people that had been shunned, the people that had been pushed out. But this is also where the entrance to the city was. And so as Jesus would walk into cities, he would have this encounter with people that were sick. Every time that you walked into a city, you would walk into people that were sick, they were hurting. Nobody really understood. Maybe they're getting sick because they keep sending crap down to them. Nobody ever understood that. Nobody ever looked and said, maybe we should clean this up and they'll stop getting sick. But they didn't, and so here's what happens is that they come in, but one of them calls out, Jesus, have pity on us, Master. Have pity, please. And Jesus, he sees them, and he says, when he saw them, he said, go show yourselves to the priest. And as they went, they were cleansed. One of them, when he saw that he was healed, came back, praising God in a loud voice. He threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. And Jesus asked, this is kind of one of those questions he already knew the answer, but he goes, we're not all 10 healed. We're not all 10 healed? Am I missing something here? Where are the other 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except for this foreigner? See, here's the question. This Thanksgiving, and actually from this day forward, will you be the one that actually gives praise? Will you be the one? And it's not the Neo one, okay? So don't think that we're going back to the Matrix here. But you need to be the one that starts looking at this and going, I need to give thanks, and I need to be able to really step out and do something different. Because a lot of times we're not willing to do that. A lot of times we just follow on the crowd. All 9 of them just keep traveling. They're going, we're going to go to the priest. We're not going to go back and actually say thank you for what God has already done for us. We don't go back and go, God, thank you. Thank you for what you've done. We get so tied up into it that we go, oh no, I'm off on my own. Like I was entitled to that. I was entitled to that healing. I was entitled to whatever that is. Whatever you thought that you got, I was entitled to it. And that's what we're doing to this generation now. We're doing that to this generation. We're entitling them to everything. They don't have to say thank you. You were going to give that to me anyway. I know that if I whine and cry long enough, that you will break down those walls and you'll give it what I asked for. And I'm not an advocate of saying no all the time. In fact, look at my children. You guys, if you know, but I know, I'm a failure. I'm hopeless. I just love them so much. I just want quiet. But that's what happens. I mean, just think about this, is that we get to this mindset. And really, I'll tell you what the biggest thing is that we have an ungrateful mindset. Our children have an ungrateful mindset. They don't even appreciate it. Yeah, when I'm trying to think of, I get to pick on my kids a little bit, especially the one that's in the military. I'll pick on her a little bit. When she was 16 years old, like most 16-year-olds, not all of them now. So at 16, most kids want a driver's license unless they have the magical fairy mom and dad's taxi cab. Okay, most of them want a driver's license because they're tired of having to rely on us to take them from place to place. So I didn't take my daughter very many places. Melissa took her places, but I wouldn't take her very many places. I was like, no, you call a friend, get a bride, do whatever you got to do. You're old enough. And so she was like on a mission to get a driver's license. See, my fault was, though, we gave her a car without her earning it. We gave her a car. She didn't pay for it. We're like, hey, you got to take your brother and sister to school. Here's a car. Do the thing. And here's what happened. 2 years ago, right out in front of this building, my daughter decided that she was going to do her makeup while driving down the road with her brother and sister in the car, and decided to hit the light pole right in front of the church. Like literally, I got a phone call right before going on stage. Hey, Dad, I got a small problem. Well, where are you at? It was like, I didn't really need to call you. I was just afraid to walk in. But here's the thing, is that she did not appreciate that car. She didn't care about it because we had given it to her. Here, instead of actually making her earn it and work for it and having to put money towards it and having to appreciate it, like the car she has now, she had to earn it. She had to pay for it. It's hers. She had to do those things. And we've created these kids that they've got this sense of entitlement. And here's the real thing, is that they have this ungrateful mindset, and they go, I want it, and I want it now. I want it now, and you will give it to me, or I will scream and yell and embarrass you in this store. I'll embarrass you in front of your family. I'll embarrass you in front of my family. I'll embarrass you in front of everybody. I don't care, because everybody knows I'm a whiny, spoiled brat anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. I want it now. But see, here's the problem. Here's the problem. A lot of us, we're that way in the store. We go to the store, you get in line, there's 3 people in front of you. I want it now. Where's my cashier? What? Do you pay everybody here? Well, kind of you do, because you buy stuff there. But when we wait in line, we go, I want it, and I want it now. I don't want to wait in line. I don't want it. I'm trying to give you my money. And we get angry about it. Instead of being grateful that you have an opportunity to actually walk in a store. We miss this opportunity that we get to walk into a grocery store. We get to walk in. I've been in places where grocery stores don't exist like that. Where you walk in and you're like, I don't know what that is hanging there. So I think I'm just going to try and find something packaged. And that's what you get to. We have so many options. We have stuff that we import from everywhere, but we get to this point and we want it, and we want it now. And I'll give you another person who had this. It says there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, Father, give me my share of the estate. So you kind of see where we've gotten to. Father, this is the prodigal son, by the way. Father, give me my money now. I wish you were dead. That's the statement. That's what he said. I want my money right now, so you should die or just give it to me and send me on my way. I want it, and I want it now. This is the attitude that we're raising people with and raising children with. I want it, and I don't care if you have to die in order for me to get it. And so a child, the parent, it could have took years, decades to accumulate everything they have, and this child wants it immediately. And here's the thing. Then he takes off, and the son goes off, and it takes him weeks to squander it. There's no appreciation for it. There's no understanding. You know, the son gets this money, goes to Vegas, the Vegas of the time, goes down there and gambles it, whores it off, and all of a sudden, he's now living in a pigsty, and he goes, my father's servants have it better than I do. I'm literally living and sleeping with the pigs. My father's servants have it better than I do, and he finally humbles himself and understands what it's like to be without. See, this is the thing. We haven't humbled our children to be without. We haven't told them, hey, you know, and I'm going to tell you is that we have an opportunity for them to go through that right now. So if you have a child, if you have a teenager, we're going to be doing a youth lock in here the weekend of the 1st, December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And the reason why this is an opportunity to humble them is because we're going to teach them to go without. We're going to call it it's a 30-hour famine. And so they come in and they have to figure out and they have to do without the normal things that we call, you know, I don't know how cold we'll let it get in here, but they may come home with some pneumonia. But they have to learn how to do different things, and so I do have some requests for that. If you know anybody who has those big appliance boxes, they're going to make some cities, they're going to do some stuff like that. So we need some of those things. We need volunteers, and we need Nerf guns because apparently they go to war during this thing. So, I'll give you more about that in the announcements. But we have to give you this. We have to teach them what it is to go without. So often, kids don't know what it's like to go without. And as a kid, anybody in here ever gone and missed a meal? I've had to miss a meal. Anybody in here ever become homeless? I remember my mom tried to, I remember being young. I was only 8 or 9 at the time, and I remember my mom tried to do everything to not let me know that we were homeless. My mom tried to do everything. She was like, she was like, I will do whatever it takes. I'll put us in a hotel. I'll make you think that we're on vacation. This is what's going to happen. My mom did not want me or my brothers to have any sort of clue that we were homeless. But we were homeless. I know. I remember packing up the stuff and going, I wonder where all that's going. And I remember never seeing that stuff again. I remember having to rebuild and rebuild and rebuild, and for some of you guys, I know that you've had some people that have assisted, but rebuilding and getting through, and as a child, I didn't have that. My mom had to start over from scratch. I had to reacquire everything and had to do it all over, and she struggled so much. I look back and I had a lot of animosity towards my mom but I also look back and go, my mom was an amazing lady. She would do anything for her children, anything. She went without. Now, she wasn't the perfect mom, but she wanted to make it to where we understood what life was really about. What is life? What is it? It's not all roses, right? You hear these kids go, "You're not fair." I don't think you understand what fair is, because you got it pretty good. I was talking to my son. You guys ever hear my son come running out of here? I hate you, and you're the worst parent ever. I only told him no. Okay. And so what happens is, but they don't understand what fairness is. They look and they go, they have everything and we have nothing. And I go, you don't understand. We have a lot of stuff, kid. We have so much stuff. Guys, there's a storage industry. We spend billions of dollars a year on stuff to keep it in storage because we like having so much stuff. And we go, it's unfair. I've got stuff in storage. I can't afford storage. Well, maybe we should get rid of the storage and the stuff that you're just paying to collect dust. Doesn't matter. Most of us want to obtain the same lifestyle that our parents had, but without actually saving the money to buy it. Most of us want what our parents have without actually saving the money to do it, without actually doing the work to do it. We want it. That's definitely the generation that we're raising. We're raising a generation that they just want it and they want it now. And the other thing that we're raising this generation is we're raising this generation to believe that they deserve more. They go, I deserve more. And I don't know if that's really the case, because this is where this ungrateful heart comes from. It's because they think that they're entitled to more than what we've ever had. You know, they think that and look at the other son, and when you look at the prodigal son, and you look at this what Jesus is teaching us here, and he says, look, after all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders, yet you never gave me a young goat so I could celebrate my friends. The brother had come back at this point, squandered all this money, and the brother has come back. And the other brother, the older brother, is going, what's the problem here? Why he's gone? Why is it that I don't get that? That's all my stuff. Why are you giving away my goat? So the question comes into is, which one sinned? Or did both of them sin? The young brother may have stayed there and been loyal, but in his heart, he was like, I really want him dead. This is my stuff. And when his brother came back, he decided that he wasn't going to love. He decided it's all about me, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And he goes, and really the older brother goes, someone owes me. I deserve that. Yeah, and so, but for us, we do the same thing. We get to this point, and we go, I deserve a better paying job. I deserve a company car. I deserve I deserve an iPhone X. Do you really deserve an iPhone X? Or how, is a used car good enough for you? I have nothing to wear. Do you know how? How many times do you walk up to the closet and you look at it and it's full of clothes? And you go, none of this is going to work. It's not going to work. Well, what happened? I mean, literally, the closet is full. You can't put any. So here's the thing. At our house, we have a closet that's attached to our bedroom. Well, it's full. And it's so full that we had to take over the bedroom's closet next to us. And that one got full too. And you walk up to the closet and you go, man, none of this works. And so there's this excuse that it doesn't fit me anymore. Why is it still in the closet? And I know that, we go, oh, because I'm going to get back to that size. I'm going to get back to that size. One day I'll get back to that size. Really? I know that's not you. I'm just. But that's what happens. You look at it and you go, oh, I paid a lot of money for that, right? I paid a lot of money for that shirt. It's a medium, dude. You're definitely a double X now. You're never going to get into it again, ever. But I paid a lot for it. Well, let somebody else enjoy it. But see, that's what happens, is that we get to this and we go, I have nothing to wear. God is giving you so much. He's giving you something that we take bags and bags and bags of stuff to go get rid of at the Goodwill or at the thrift store or whatever. We take it all there and go, here you go. God hasn't given me anything. He's never provided for me. Really? Did you just take 6 bags of stuff to Goodwill and told them, please take this? Do I owe you anything for you to take this from me? You see, we've changed our whole mindset here. And it really has caused us to kind of miss out. See, here's the thing, is that we've gotten very ungrateful, and we need to really expose some of that ungratefulness. So if you start looking at this, and you want to expose some of that stuff, material and financial. How many of us are ungrateful for the things that we have and the financial situations that we're in? Now, I know some of you going, I'm broke, Mike, so I'm really ungrateful for being broke. But are you broke because of your own doing? Are you broke because of your own doing? Do you spend money? Do you do things that you're not supposed to do? Are you, anybody in here a latte a day? If you are, it's $150 a month, by the way. If you're a latte a day, it's $150. And if you're a spouse, and if you and your spouse both enjoy a latte a day, that's $300 a month that you're spending on coffee at Starbucks. Just want you to know that. If you're a smoker, by the way, there's $7 a pack a day now. So if you're smoking a pack a day, do the math. 10, by the way, $10, just been corrected by. So that's $300 a month that you're spending on cigarettes if you smoke a pack a day. Start thinking about it. Are you broke because of your doing? Now, I will tell you, when I quit smoking, that $300 didn't magically appear back in my account. I'll just tell you that. It didn't. I spent it on different things. But that's what happens, is that we take those things and you have that stuff that comes out. What is it that you have, material or financial, that you look at and go, I'm ungrateful, but God has given me so much. God's taken care of me. He's given me all of these things. And he's given me this ability to buy more things. He's given me this ability to be able to help others with the things that I already have. I just want you to think about something. Most of us, we have these big houses, or we call them big, just perspectively, think about it with me. If you live in greater than a 2-bedroom home, your house is huge compared to world standards. And so, if you look at it, we put these things, and really they're just storage closets for stuff. They're just storage closets for stuff. We have so much stuff in our houses. Could you imagine on how many people you could actually help with the stuff that's in your house? That God's given you so much that it's collecting dust. You could actually give to other people and allow them to actually build their lifestyles or be able to do things. Now I know that there's decorations and all that stuff. Don't get rid of your decorations. You'll hate me. You'll be Pastor Mike, why'd you make me get rid of this stuff? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the stuff that's useful. Clothing, appliances that you don't use. You know, there's people out there, literally this Thanksgiving, I know somebody who has like 3 turkey roasters. They're going to use one for Thanksgiving. What are you going to do with the other 2? That person's not here, so don't be looking around the room going, what are you going to do with those other 2? But that's what happens, is that God blesses us with so much stuff, and a lot of times we just disregard it and go, nope, I got my own thing. Excuse me. The other thing is that God blesses us relationally, but we're very ungrateful that way. So relationally, God gives us friendships. He puts people that we get to encounter. We come to church with people. We hang out with people. How well are we grateful for those friendships? Or do we just try and go, we meet somebody, we hang out with them for a little while, we go, man, you're an amazing person. I'd love to hang out with you more often. And then we go, I'm going to friend you on Facebook. Why? Why not actually get their phone number? Why not try and do something? Last night I met a guy, and he started telling me, and he just started giving me his history. And he gave me his business card. I looked down at it, and I said, you play golf? Let's go play a round of golf. Let's go hang out. Let's go do something. And now this person's different than I am, but that has nothing to do. God put that person in my path for a reason. Why did God put that person in my path? Do I need something from him, or does he need something from me relationally? Not physically, relationally. I needed to hear something that he was sharing, and maybe he needs to hear something that I can share with him. Are we grateful for the people that God puts in our path? Or do we go, you're so irritating. You're so slow. You're different than I am. What is it? What is it that we put in there and we go, I don't like this, or I don't like that? And we have to really get to this point of going, just because somebody's different from us doesn't mean that God didn't put them in our path for us to have a life-changing encounter with that person. You know, if you're single, I want you to think about that. How many people have you just brushed off that could have been the one that God said, the 2 become one? Because they were different, because they were unattractive, or they looked different, they didn't meet the standard that we put out there. I'm not saying that somebody in here is doing that. I'm just saying that's the possibility. This is not one of those things. I'm going ding, 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 ding. But but that's what happens, is that we miss out on things. And the other thing is that we really need to expose some of the ungratefulness for circumstantial things that have come into the circumstances that we're in. You know, I know that some people right now, we're getting ready to go into Christmas time. Some of you are going, how am I going to get through Thanksgiving? And I know that some of us are getting ready to go into Christmas time going, how are we going to pay for Christmas? And so we start looking at going into debt. We start looking at going, okay, the circumstances are that I have to go into debt in order to provide for my children to have an amazing Christmas. Here's the problem. Christmas was never about going into debt. Christmas is about the celebration of the birth of our Savior. So they gave Jesus 3 gifts, 3 things that he could use, 3 things that he was going to need. What are we doing with Christmas now? Because if you look at Christmas, I was talking to somebody and they go, so for Christmas we're getting an Xbox One X. And I go, really? That's $500. What else are you getting along with that? Well, we got to get a couple games, we got to get a new controller, we got to get this, we got to get that. I go, man, that's $1,000 in one. You're like $700 into one gift. So let me tell you, I remember one year when Aubrey was very small, I was trying to figure out, I was like, man, what am I going to do for Christmas? Because I wasn't making good money at the time. What am I going to do for Christmas? And at the time, KB's Toys used to have an outlet up in Vacaville, right? I don't know if anybody remembers that, but they used to have an outlet store up in there. And so I remember going in there and I go, I said, it's either going to be the drugstore, going to, Long Strug on December 24th, because that's the day I got paid. And so I got to, or I'm going to just sit at KB Toys as soon as at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. And I walked in there and, I didn't only had one child at the time. And I walked in and I go, okay, I got $80. That's what I've got. That's what I'm going to do Christmas on. And so I walked in and I walked out with a shopping cart full of toys. And I go, I didn't know they put Barbies on sale the day before Christmas for $1.80 or like $4 each or something like that. I walked out with a shopping cart full of things, but I walked in with this budget. I wasn't trying to go into debt. I wasn't trying to go into credit card debt. I just walked out and I said, this is how much I have. This is what I'm going to spend. And I walked out. And my daughter had an amazing Christmas because of it. See, the thing is that we go off and we try and buy all these expensive things, and really the kids just want the box that they came in. They don't even want the stuff. They just want the box that it came in. It's us that when you're buying that Xbox One X for your kid, you're really buying it for yourself. You're like, I'm going to buy that for me. I'm going to play it more than the kids are. And that's what happens a lot of time. And so we don't really realize that we're going into Christmas time, maybe broke in the circumstances that we're in, but that might be actually that we need to buy the things that we need for our kids and for our families, and less on the things that we want. So here's the problem is that I talk to people, they're still paying for last Christmas now. That's not what this is about. We have to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. So we have to decide to turn every blessing that you pour out, we have to turn it back into praise. Decide to turn blessings into praises. What are the blessings that you have? What is it that's come down? Just look at the little things too. Don't just look for big things. Look for the little things. So a lot of you guys this morning, you got up, you put your feet on the floor. That's an amazing blessing. You got up, you took a breath. That's an amazing blessing. How many things that you were able to do today that you just took for granted? How many of you guys got in the car, you turned the key, and you just drove off? You didn't even think, God, thank you for letting me have this vehicle. Thank you for letting me have this. Thank you for providing for this. And every blessing that we don't turn back into praise turns into pride. I want you to know that, by the way. Every blessing that we don't turn back into praises turns into pride. Every time that if we don't actually take something and go, God, thank you for this, that's just saying that I did this. I did it. It's mine. Paul, I love it. Philippians 4. He comes out and he goes, I've learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I've learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. Think about that for a second. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. I can do everything through Christ or through Him who gives me strength. So when you're starting to look at this and going, God, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Well, maybe you're supposed to be seeking Him. What am I supposed to be doing for Christmas? Well, maybe you're supposed to be seeking Him. What am I supposed to be doing in this situation? Maybe you're supposed to be seeking Him. Because then you'll start finding that content that we're looking for. To be content without all the stuff. To be content with what God has already given to you. By nature, though, we're not contented. By nature, we always want more. By nature, we want things, and by nature, we're also not thankful. We're just not. See, when you get up in the morning, you turn off the alarm and go, oh, God, this is going to suck. Or when you get off in the morning, and you turn off the alarm and go, good morning, God, thank you for today. Do you know how the shift might be in your day if you did that? Because there's people who didn't wake up today, by the way. Good morning, Lord. Ecclesiastes, it says, better what the eye sees than the roving of the appetite. I'm just going to tell you, my wife loves the beach, okay? My wife loves the beach. Amazing, you get out there, you get to hear the waves crashing against the sand, and it's just, my wife loves it. I get out there and I complain about it. I get out there, and while it's beauty, and it's amazing, I get out there, and I'll be walking along, and I go, man, I got sand in my shoes, I got sand, I go, I don't even understand how it's in my socks. What happened? My wife's answer is, take your shoes and socks off. No, you don't want to see these feet. Bury them in the sand, like your head. Go ahead, But that's what happens is that we get out there, and so I get out there and I don't see, but we complain about things but most people go, man, that's beautiful. It's lovely out here. It's amazing. But we should be thankful that, guys, without that stuff, do you understand what happens if the waves stop crashing against the sand? Do you understand what happens to our planet? Do you know the life stops here essentially? We have to start changing our perspective. We have to start going, thank you. We get to this point where you have your cars, right? Everybody, and you get in your car, it starts up, drives you everywhere. It's got good tires on it. It sounds good. Motor runs. I'm so tired of this thing. Man, you have a car that gets you from point A to point B. You may not even have a payment on it. Could you imagine if you were so tired of your car and then you go off and you buy another car and now you got a payment. You were broke before. How's it going to be with a new car payment? Instead of being thankful and just going, God, thank you for letting me have this car. My house is too small. You have a house. You have a place to go stay. My house is always a wreck. God blessed you with children. I know they don't seem like a blessing at first. When they move out, though, you're like, man, this house is awful quiet. Just this morning, somebody goes, man, Mike, the church is getting too big. There's no parking for me. What? What'd you say? But that's what happens. As we get to this point, we go, there's no parking. By the way, the whole back lot is empty right now. Oh, it's not. It's unfair. No, I know. See, the cheerful heart has a continual feast, but better a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth with turmoil. It's Proverbs 15. So, that song is out. Every blessing, into praises. That's what we have to get to this point to. Turn every blessing. Don't just feel gratitude, but express it. When we were sponsoring a church in the Philippines, I went over and sat in the house of some of the people that were sponsoring over there, and I sat and I looked around and I go, every problem we have now, everything that I look at and I go, there's an issue here, they're first world problems. They're the things that I just go, what is this? I'm just kind of going to bounce through a little bit because I got more stuff. I just want you to know is Lucifer thought he was entitled to the worship that God was receiving. That's the mindset we've gotten to. Our children think that they are entitled to what we already have. That's the same thing that Lucifer thought. Lucifer thought that he was entitled to the worship that God was receiving. 4:6, better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Do you know, I want you guys to think about something. We chase after stuff. Do you know that Elvis Presley lived in a 27-bedroom mansion? So he was making $15 million a year in income. And at 42 years old, just think about it. He had everything. He had an airplane, he had cars, he had records out there. 42 years old, overdosed because he was depressed. It's not having everything. And one of the lines that he says he'd give $1 million to have one day with peace. He had no peace. He had nothing within himself. I talked to my daughter, and my daughter, the 10-year-olds are demanding cell phones. I deserve a cell phone. I think maybe 16-year-old with a new car is child abuse. And we've fallen for the marketing. The marketing says, you deserve this. It belongs to you. You owe yourself. Instead of really going, this is what I'm supposed to do. One of the things I also put in here, 85% of hiring managers and HR directors, if they're not a millennial, so if they're a millennial, this is the quote, it says millennials are entitled. Now there's millennials that are hiring managers. Those millennials, they don't think that. They think this is just normal, this is normalcy, but it's not. James 1:7, and here's the thing that I want you to walk out of here, and apparently I didn't put it in these notes. It says, every good and perfect gift is from above. See, gratitude makes poor people rich. Ungratefulness makes rich people poor. That's what happens. You can have all the money in the world, but being ungrateful, you've got a poor soul and a poor heart, and you're always craving, you're trying to fill that hole here that's just empty without Christ. That's what you're chasing after. I went well beyond what time that I was supposed to be preaching, but I'm thankful, guys, that you guys showed up today and listened and heard. And I think that there's definitely something for us to change and go, what sort of attitude that we're going to go with? What is tomorrow going to bring if we don't have an attitude of gratitude today? What is tomorrow going to bring? What is it going to look like? What is it that we're going to have and the things that we're going to have? If we can't be grateful for what God has already done and be thankful and look at what Thanksgiving is going to turn around for us. You know, this Thanksgiving, how many people are having family over or going to family? Anybody? Anybody going to have some family over? You're going to go to a family's house, anything like that? See, here's the thing. Put those hands back up for a second. Now, what I want you to do is look around the room for those that don't have their hands up. There's loneliness that happens there. Okay, and I'm not trying to point out that if you didn't put your hand up, hey, you're lonely. But what I'm trying to say is that I said that there's people right in this room right now that aren't going to have the same thing that we will have on Thursday. We won't have that thing. We won't have that family. We won't have that. There'll be loneliness, and it's especially a day. By the way, I just want to remind you guys of something. In between now and Christmas is the highest time for suicide. In between now and Christmas the numbers start peaking. And it's because this is a family time. This is when people are supposed to come around one another. Reach out. We have people that are missing from church today. Reach out. Love on them. Go, hey, how are you doing? What's happening? What's going on with you? Oh, you hate Mike too? Great. I understand. But you have to get to this mindset where we're reaching out. You got commonality there. We both hate him. Let's go. Let's go back to church and go critique him. Whatever. But we have to get to this mindset of being grateful and really, guys, the people that you have a relationship with, those relations and that circumstance that you're brought into, it's so that God can do something with it, so that God can do something through it. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for the circumstances, the financial situations, just every situation that you've placed us in so that we can actually pursue you and do life with you and really point others towards you. Father, we ask for guidance and we ask for direction for what you would have us do this Christmas season, what you would have us be thankful for. We're just looking to just go, God, thank you for waking me up this morning. Thank you for allowing me to take a breath. Thank you for allowing my car to start. Thank you for everything that you've already provided and the things you will continue to provide. Father, we know that you take, that we look at the birds and the bees and we go, you give everything that they need. Why wouldn't you look at your most favorited creation and give it everything that it needs? We just have to seek you. All good comes from you. Father, help us redirect everything that we have that's taking us away from you, to help us redirect it towards you, towards our relationship with you, towards our life with you, towards just this greater understanding of who you are and how much that you want from us and how favored you look upon us. That we don't have to keep running away, and that we don't have to keep trying to do our own thing, that we can seek you and find you and do life with you right here and right now. We don't have to try and continue to fill our hearts with toys and with electronics. That we find contentment when we're seeking you. That we find contentment when we're chasing after you in that passion. That when you are part of our heart, the hole that we're trying to fill with stuff tends to just not exist. We know what it is to have plenty, and we know what it is to go without. And sometimes going without, we appreciate the times that we had plenty and know that we can make it when we don't have any. Father, thank you. Thank you for today. Thank you for what you're doing. It's in your Son, Jesus' name, that we pray. Amen.